Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson both feature on UFC Fight Night 169 on ESPN Plus 27 Norfolk. Benavidez versus Figueiredo this weekend, and I feel like it's time to talk about the future of the women's featherweight division. Where do we go from here? This weekend, we are seeing Felicia Spencer take on Zarah, Fairn, Santos in the co-main event. I just feel like what's going on here? Like, Zarah Fairn Santos is 0-1 in the UFC, and she's fighting the top contender of Felicia Spencer. Is this a title elimination bout? It's in the co-main event. What's going on? What is going on with the women's featherweight division? I have no idea where the future is going to be going. You've got Megan Anderson, on the other hand, taking on Norma Dumont on the main card, further down, but still on the main card. Don't understand that move whatsoever. Norma Dumont's a bantamweight coming up. She's 4-0. She's just taking the fight to get into the UFC, I guess. I feel like what's going on with the women's featherweight division right now is that the UFC doesn't want to admit that they kind of fucked up and they don't have anyone to fill a division. So they're just going to try and keep it going? I have no idea, to be honest with you. It makes no sense to me. But either way, I've got both of these girls, Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson, winning their fights this weekend, as I'm sure everyone does. But it's just weird. It's just a weird situation to be in right now if you're in the UFC featherweight division. Like, if you're a female fighter who signs up at 145 pounds, your top 10 UFC featherweight women's fighters. Like, I don't get that. Surely, if you're going to make a division, you first build the division before you publish it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I make a video, I structure everything and then I click publish. But I feel like the UFC's just kind of gone, okay, it's there. Like, build it and they will come kind of style. You know what I mean? I don't understand what they were trying to do because there's only 5 people in the UFC featherweight division. And I felt like the UFC got really fucked over by the women's Ultimate Fighter finale and the Ultimate Fighter in general for the women's featherweight division. Because all of those women's featherweights, like Macy Chiasson, immediately upon getting into the UFC have shifted down in weight because fuck fighting at featherweight, I guess. But I feel like it should be quite the contrary. First of all, Spencer versus Zarah Fairn Santos, it's fine, get it some hype. Let's at least try with the women's featherweight division, see if we can get it some kind of hype. Jesus Christ, Felicia Spencer's a top contender after all, and she took a beating very well against Chris Cyborg, so she gets a lot of credit for that. Megan Anderson, on the other hand, yep, she's going to beat the fuck out of Norma Dumont. I feel like, cool, let's have her get some headlines as well, but I don't know what's going on. I feel like bantamweights need to start joining this division, and I know that will weaken the bantamweight division, but people like Holly Holm and Jermaine Durandamy should really arguably move up to featherweight, because they've already lost to Amanda Nunes at bantamweight. At featherweight, they can almost come at it with a new angle, and if they win one fight against Felicia Spencer, they get a title shot, you know? Like, I feel like what's next for the female featherweight division is for some of these older bantamweights that have already had their shot at 135 pounds against Amanda Nunes are going to try and take on a different angle. Jermaine Durandamy and Holly Holm, first of all, you could make the rematch at 145 pounds, and that would be somewhat interesting. You could either have Jermaine Durandamy versus Felicia Spencer, Jermaine Durandamy versus Megan Anderson, Holly Holm, Megan Anderson rematch, Holly Holm versus Felicia Spencer. I feel like that's the only way we're going to introduce some juice into this division, because right now we're running on dry. The only thing we could do right now with the women's featherweights that we have is, fingers crossed, Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson both win. We have them rematch each other for some bizarre fucking reason, and then the winner of that one gets a title shot. But who knows, what is Nunes doing? Like, I'm not coming at Nunes here, but like, we have no idea what Nunes, I feel like every time I hear her talk, and every time I hear her in a post-fight speech, I don't know how long she's going to be around for. You know, I feel like we've only got like 1 or 2 years left of Nunes at most, to be honest with you. She talks like she's all ready to go and she just wants to make a bit of money and then leave behind a legacy. I don't know how many title defenses at 145 pounds there's going to be for Amanda Nunes, to be honest with you. But I also don't know how long the 145 pound division is going to be. Are we just prolonging the inevitable by giving Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer fights and just paying them fights in the meantime, even though we know that the division is eventually going to be killed off? Because this can't continue. There's 5 people in the division. This is the UFC. It's supposed to be the best, you know? What do? Do we sign Julia Budd? Do we start looking elsewhere and try and make some big investments into this division? What I feel like should have happened from the start, and I've said this before in other videos, what they should have done with the women's featherweight division is set it up in Invicta first. You know, UFC is a parent company, a parent organization for Invicta. Okay, they own Invicta. Why not make a women's featherweight division there? Wait until it naturally builds itself up of contenders and a top 15 ranking system, or a top 20 or top 25. And then a couple of years later, 3 years after you establish the division and it builds itself up, then you take it into the UFC. Why not do that? Why immediately? And I know why they did it, because they wanted to make the most. They wanted to make the most out of Chris Cyborg, and that's very obvious. But now Chris Cyborg's gone because of that whole fiasco. They're kind of fucked, because who else is there at women's featherweight other than Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson? There's no one. There's Zarah, Fairn, Santos, who's top 5 for losing in the UFC. One fight, she lost her debut, still top 5. Leah Letson is not fighting, and she's apparently a featherweight in the rankings, but she just doesn't fight anyone. I haven't heard from her in a very fucking long time. I haven't heard from her since she won the Ultimate Fighter last year. So who knows what's going on there. And then you've got Norma Dumont, who's now a bantamweight, taking a fight. So now what we're doing is we're getting free access to the UFC for people that aren't ready for the lower weight classes. They're just saying, yeah, I'll fight at featherweight. I'll get my UFC contract that way, cool. And then they just sign up at featherweight. And the UFC lets them. And then they cut weight and go down the weight class because the UFC can't control them. I just feel like if we're going to have any sort of hype for this women's featherweight division, we want Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson to win. I feel like they're both going to win. I don't want to see them rematch just yet. I feel like that's something that can maybe happen down the line. But instead, I would love to see from the women's bantamweight division, Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy, maybe even Raquel Pennington, so we can get a completely fresh set of rankings. All of them three. Durandamy, Holm, and Pennington. What have you got to still do at 135 pounds? You can go to 145, win 1 or 2 fights, maybe even 1 if you win against the right person. Felicia Spencer in this case. She's a top contender. And then all of a sudden you've got another title shot at 45, and we can sell a fight between you and Nunes from a new angle. You know, like, we can't sell it right now, Holly Holm. If Holly Holm wins again, no one's going to be interested in seeing her versus Amanda Nunes. I really don't think they are. You got to come at it with a new angle. You got to say, oh, now I'm rejuvenated at 145 pounds and I've just beat these bigger girls. Now I want Amanda Nunes at 145, and it's a completely new shift on things. Jermaine Durandamy, if she were to get some good wins in the 145 pound division, there's a storyline there. She was the 145 pound world champion. She didn't want to defend it against Amanda Nunes in the first place. Maybe we can work that kind of angle. You know what I'm saying? Let's try and fucking save this division, because right now I feel like it's on a crash course for failure. In one main card, we've got the entirety of the female featherweight division on display. Other than the champion. We've got all but one contender on display in 2 fights. How is this okay with anyone behind the scenes in the UFC? I have no idea. And I honestly have no idea where we can get more talent from other than sacrificing some older members of our female bantamweight division, to be honest. Are we going to pay for Julia Budd? She probably earns more money at Bellator. Are we going to grovel for Cyborg back? That's never going to happen. Dana White would never allow that to happen. I just don't know. I don't know how we fix this. Someone give me suggestions. You know any female... Do we have to get Gabby Garcia to chop her fucking legs off and get in the cage? Like, what do we do here? Leave me suggestions. This is a cry for help. I feel like you guys are my therapist. How do we save this division? Because it's not hype. Like, it's just a dead one. I complain about the female flyweight division for not being stacked enough, but at least there's fighters in it. At least we have a full ranking slots. Like, I don't understand. And I feel like if Nunes retires and Durandamy and Holly Holm don't eventually move up in weight, or maybe Raquel Pennington doesn't move up in weight, they might just delete the women's featherweight division. Which, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be opposed to, because I don't know why there's no women's featherweights around. It makes no sense to me. I thought there would be a lot of big girls. I thought big girls would love to fight even more than small girls. You know, they're more aggressive. They're bigger. They can hold their own a little bit more. Apparently 115 pounds are the most savage girls in the world. I have no idea. So I don't know how they're going to fix this. Maybe they have to start advertising female featherweight fights. But right now, I don't fucking know what they're going to do. Non-UFC rankings. Bantamweights. This is only males. Okay, so this doesn't help me at all. Where do I find talent for the female featherweight division? Because I have no idea where to look. I don't know. Maybe Brian Ortega needs to fucking get a sex change. It's 2020. Get a sex change. Join the female featherweight division. Just become champion instantly. I have no idea what we can do to save it, to be honest with you. And I have no idea why we're in this mess. Actually, I do. Because Cyborg left us. And Cyborg was supposed to beat Nunes and stay at women's featherweight for a very long time. But she didn't, of course. Which ruined our plans. Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy, shift your old asses up to fucking featherweight. Give it some life. Same with you, Raquel Pennington. Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer, please win your fights this weekend. Thank you. And Leah Letson, do something as well. Because you're in the UFC, start acting like it. You know? Why are you on the rankings for the female featherweight division if you're not going to fight ever? Makes no sense. Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. Like and subscribe. See you later.